right, peoples, I got two videos I'm going to do together here. I'm going to do Cony and Msty MSTR. Excuse me. So, both of them did not have trades. The other difference, and they both look pretty good actually to capitalize. So let me contrast. Coin had buy-in to the fund, but they didn't put any trades on. Misty didn't have any buy-in and didn't put any trades on. All right, so let's go into Coin. So what happened with Coin? It was up 2.86, right? 257 to 265. So 2.86. Coney was up 3.55 because we're not capped. We're getting close to the capping. And my math at the end, I'll explain a lot more with that. So here's the share count increase, right, from 36,650,000. So we added 250,000 to 36,900,000. So since there were no new weeklies, I can show you now and then immediately go over to holdings in much greater detail. So we closed at 265.15. Well, that's $10 away from where we start losing money, right? Right up to 275, we keep this enormous amount of cash that we collected. So that then starts the capping. So if we keep on running, we run right by coin, right? But just going up that $10, we make more money. And when I show it, you'll see what I mean. So hopefully I still I get that I get new subscribers coming in, right? But in my Discord, I still don't understand the call, the synthetic. You can always go out and look at Yieldmax ETF website and they give a cursory. But the problem is with options, unless you really understand them and you write them yourself or something, sometimes these are just words. So I try my best here um, to lay it out. But please understand, it's practically impossible no matter how you do it. But to me, there's nothing like this holdings out there, both graphic and breaking it into its sections the way I do it. If you don't get it at this level, no offense, but the only way you're ever really going to understand options is just either paper trade them or practice it or take a course or do something, because it's not something you just inherently know. I think people with good math computational skills, once they learn kind of all the ins and outs, can progress faster. But even good computational skills, like I was blessed with those, but that doesn't mean I understand options quicker or better than somebody else. It just means when I'm doing them, I can see what the payday is or something easier, but you still have to kind of learn what's what. So let's go over where we are. So it's positive. Whenever you move up in price, the underlying moves up, okay, then you move up. Well, you could say, why do you move up? Well, you typically move up because you're already long that underlying. Well, how are you long that? You don't own any stock. Well, you buy a call and sell a put. Both of those are bullish. So you take 250, for instance, as we move up to 265. The minute we go over 250, this is no longer just time premium. It has built into it the amount of money we go over 250, right? So at expiration, if we're at 265, how much is this going to be worth? That's my question to all of you guys out there. Some of you are going to immediately know. Others are like, are you kidding me, Bruce? I don't even know what you're talking about. Well, you got a 250 call. You bought that, right? So what's buying an option? What's an option consist of? Well, you got till 8/16, so I could go over to weekly and tell you, but I'm just going to guess, we've got about 20 something days, right, left. So those 20 days have a time premium. There's a value for buying the 250, and the market says we think it's going to go up, and that's the IV and all the calculation. We think that's worth $8 or $15, some amount. And then if it's actually now priced above 250, which it is, right? We know it's at 265. So when I look at $30 and 0.925, the value of that option is today 722 at closing, worth $30.92.5. Well, how much of that is the value over 250? Well, you go back over here and you say it closed at 265.15. So $10.15 constitute the portion of 30.925. So you see there's a lot of time premium in there. So if we go all the way to 816 and we're at 265, then that's what it's going to be worth, $10.15, right? And then all this other is time premium. So you have a 250 put. Well, we're above that. The put only bothers you when it's above 250. If this expired tomorrow and we're at 265, this is worthless. That's the whole idea. Going long means you think you're going to move up, and so this we're going to sell the put where the price is right now, and then it's just going to become worthless, and our call is going to grow. So you have two ways to participate in the gain. What are these? These are weekly calls. What do they do? Well, they're kind of a short bet, right? We're selling those, and they're really naked calls. They call it a covered call strategy. But technically it's just selling a call where you don't own the underlying. So you hope that you wrote it high enough that you're not going to have to spend any money, right? Because if we go all the way to Friday and the 265 at 274.99 or 275, we can buy that back for a couple of pennies. It's not worth anything. So then we kept all of this money, right? We got 13 million, but now they're saying it's worth 5.525, which we can see it's not above that price. So that's all time premium. But if it runs to 300, then it's going to be 25 over, plus if there's a day or two left, a couple more dollars, right? So if it runs to 300, this thing's going to be like 28. It's going to be a huge liability. But we're going to make that all that and more over here, because from 265 to 275, we make money here. And in theory, we don't lose over here. Yeah, the time premium is still there, but every day that goes by that we stay under 275, this shrinks. So that's just a recap, because a lot of people keep asking me. So enough time on that. I want to get through these two videos together. Okay, so where does that leave us? Well, that says we have now a $49 million gain, because we're just moving up a little bit, but it's triggering the put to go down in value and the call to go up. Well, how do we know? Because I graphically show it to you over the last 4 trading days here. Now, once in a while, we change the synthetic, and the 3 days before are irrelevant to the new price of this synthetic. So you're not looking to apples and apples, right? You're looking to apples and oranges. Right now, it's all been the same. So we're up here in a $49 million gain. 2 days ago, we had a $48 million loss. So this move up, and with Bitcoin worldwide conference going on this week, Trump's supposed to speak either on Friday or Saturday. I haven't looked at the agenda. You got Michael Saylor, you got all these people that are going to be speaking. And some of the rumors I shared with you before, that it may be talked about a reserve currency, in a sense that the treasuries are marked to some degree to Bitcoin, right? There's some commodity tie-in to our treasuries. And so you take the treasury money and you say, well, let's back a certain percent of it by the Bitcoin price or the gold price, or a combination of those. So I think Trump wants that, and will be speaking. We don't even know exactly who the candidate is on the other side, but I imagine they're going to not want to be outdone and likely will say something positive about Bitcoin as well. So that FOMO, that momentum could in fact help us, okay, and is helping us. I actually did a trade. I bought in the pre-market BITU. I looked at BITX, but I think I settled for, or I did for BITU. And I bought a significant amount of shares in the pre-market. And I didn't see the movement I wanted, so I flipped out of it during the trading day for a nice gain, you know, a 3% gain. Um, but I put enough in it that it was a pretty good gain for a day trade. And I with the time with doing all these videos, I'm getting a little frustrated. And if I feel short sometimes with people, it's because I miss trading more and doing more things. So I'm going to slow down a little bit. So when you're asking me for new funds, it's not very likely. I mean, I make so little on the channel, but it is a labor of love. I really enjoy this. I enjoy educating people and teaching and so forth. Um, so that part I like, but I get a little frustrated with just the amount of time and you know it's difficult. People ask a lot of questions. I've been there. I remember those kind of questions. All right, let me finish. So where do we close? 2102. What's fair value? 20.95. So let me show you how we move up and how this works positive. But remember that 275 is the key capping number here, right? Not much we can do about that. We're going to run because we're past the 250s. And every day that we move up, we gain significant value here. But once we hit 275, we basically dollar for dollar lose here. But up until 275, that's why we could outperform today. But if we ran to like 290 tomorrow, you'd notice that we wouldn't have the same gain that coin did because we would have that first $10 gain, we'd be wide open. But then this starts really, you know, it's driving really fast with the parking brake on. Um, okay, so let's go to payments. So I did some computational math for you guys. I said, all right, how do we get paid? We got a 71-cent loss, and you're talking about how can it get to $1.50? How can it get to $2? Well, let me tell you. Okay, so you got a $49 million gain. You got a loss of 17 million. But let me educate you. We could move up $10 and that 17 million loss on the weekly completely goes away. It's all time premium, right? So 275 makes it zero. Well, just that $10 additional, I didn't do the math here, but it's got to be like 20 million. So all of a sudden we have a $69 million gain here by moving to 275. Let's call it 65, and we have a zero loss. So I said the difference here is 32. So that gives us 87 cents, right? So that's based on the current share count. So 87 cents on a 71-cent loss means we only get about 16. But guess what? At 275, we've got a $65 million gain because this is zero come Friday. So 65 million on this, okay, we'd need 72, almost 74, and we'd be at 65 to be a $2. 2 times 36 is 72, 2 times 19 is 8, so you'd have a 73.8, and we'd have a 65, so call it $1.75. That's how we get $1.75 right there. We simply go to 275 and hold it. Well, what if we go to 290? Okay. Well, we're not going to get hurt that much more, but I like us going to 275. Who knows? You know, we have no control over that. But that's an example of how we get it just this week, right? But and then we can write a much bigger and further out, hopefully. Do you hear me, fund managers? Okay. For the following week. Um, let's see. So that's how it all works, guys. Hope that helps. Let me go jump into Msty. Similar, but slightly different. Okay. So when we jump into Msty, we have a situation where our underlying was up 1.21, right? So Msty went to Mr. went 1.21 up, 1800, 1778 to 1800. And look, normally MSTR does a better job than Coin was. I get why Cony moved up. Cony's pretty undervalued. I told you guys on TA that, every time it goes down to 18 so far, again, it's probabilities. There'll be a time that it goes to 18 and maybe it doesn't go back up to 30 or mid to high 20s. But so far, it's shown that, and based on what I see in BTC and the conference and some of the other stuff, it's looking pretty good. Let's see. So it went up 1.62. Or sorry, guys, I'm talking Coney when I'm meaning MSTR. So at least we outperformed it, right? The issue with that 18 and everything is on Coin. Apologize. So I think it was fair to say that Msty, after this big 14 with the 6, is going to calm down, right? It had a 15 followed by a 3 and then had, a little reversal. So this is okay. It's just kind of resting. But nice that we did that. Well, let's look at its weeklies, okay, and see what all's going on. Whoops, that's not what I want. I want weeklies. All right. So here they didn't add any. Now, Coney got more money in and Coin, but they didn't add any trades. They could have, but they didn't. But in this situation, we're okay because, whoops, this is not okay. Why do I show that? Okay. Yeah, we're already capped here. So it is just interesting that we did better in that sense, right? What is it? 64, yeah. Okay, so both of these continue to move up. Not a lot, right? But some. And sometimes it's hard to explain when you're already capped in that situation with the 1675. Let me go look. I might have closed that detail sheet. So hopefully that's correct. Let me see on my holdings. Yeah, let me go get that, guys, for a second. I need to go open. Yeah, 150 is fine. Okay. 73, yeah, we're good. Okay, 73, and then 150 is on this one. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Well, because I do one and then I do two, and I thought, I better do these together. They're not that long. Okay, so let's verify on the weekly where we are. Yes, we're at 1675. Okay, and we're well by that, right? But we've already been punished for that in essence, right? So moving up a little bit now, we're equal and can be slightly ahead because as our synthetic moves up, we're capturing all that because we're on a 1550. Look, we got out to 816 with 24 days, and we're up there. So let's go take a look at holdings, which tells us pretty much everything. So where did we close? Well, we closed at 13.19, 2 cents above what would be deemed fair value. So no shares added. So here's where we're behind and here's where we're ahead. Okay. So with this one, as we moved up some, which we did, then we gained. We're at now, I'm calling it 65 million, 64,889, rounding. Okay. And this one's really at 38 million. So you got a $65 million paper gain. And technically, right now, this is a paper loss. If we went back to 1675, which is a whole $125 lower, okay, then you can see right away what's the time premium, right? If we're $125 above it and its price is 150.6, then 25.6 is the time premium, right? So you're not going to get away with getting it down to 11 unless you went, to zero here. You'd have to go all the way back to 1675. Unlike Cony and Coin, which can still run $10 before it gets capped. But we have now 64 million. Where were we yesterday? Well, we were at 42 million, right? That's why I like these charts, because it shows us, look what we've done. You remember on Coin, it had a 49 million and then went to a 48 million. Well, we went from 3 million to 64 million. So we moved up 61 million, right? By being long the stock, by being long and mimic being long with our synthetic. So you guys that ask, what is the synthetic? I don't know, understand one from the other. Well, it's being long the stock. So whatever MSTR does, basically we do in our synthetic. But unfortunately, we do have that rear brake that we put on every week, hoping that we use it just for a second or two and nobody notices and we collect the money, right? That yield is the prospectus and the methodology that they designed to collect money out. And then once a month or so, when you roll a synthetic, you get a bunch more cash. But they want that weekly to capture. Well, guess what? It captures in a slightly down, a flat, and a slightly up, 1-2% up, right? 3%, depends on the IV, because they're typically writing these high IV stocks like Coin and MSTR. They're writing 3 to 5 to 6, maybe 7% out of the money, because these stocks have high IV. So when it runs 15, there's no way they can keep up. Somebody asked me this morning, well, Bruce, why don't they write just 20%? Well, if they write 20%, they're going to capture, 50 cents, and maybe they're capturing $4 or $5 because they need to have big payouts on these things. So, you can go back in here and you can see their payouts on what they're doing. I mean, these are only, these are $44 ones, but there's $20 ones. Well, they need those based on the contract count, because that's how much they need to pay this dollar, this $1.50, this $2, this 2.53. Heck, Misty's paid as much as 4. All right, so let's go back to holdings, and that's our situation. So let's go to that final sheet, just like I did for Coney, and work with those two numbers, those what if numbers, right? Because the odds are we're not going back to 1675. So I like Coin's position and Coney's position better, but they have less money than Misty does right now. So here we go with the payouts. We have 39-cent loss, right? But I think they had 87 in Coin. So here's our summary. So our synthetic is up to 65 million in paper gain, paper value. The weeklies have a loss of 38 million, but 12 million of it is time premium. Okay, so let's assume it's 26, right? But the difference is 27 right now, 65 minus 38. Well, let's call it 10 more that we gain with the time premium. But remember, we lose a little bit on our time premium on our call. The put doesn't lose it. The synthetic is made up of the call and the put, but the call just staying at a certain level, it shrinks some too, just like this one does. But our put shrinks a little bit too, so it's hard to know the exact number. But let's call this 35. So if we get 35, even 27 gives us $1.86 in Misty. Let's add a little bit more of that and say we get 220 here. Well, we got a 40-cent loss, so there's $1.80 right there. If all we do is just write out where we are, we maintain the 65 million, right? And remember, if this drops some, so does this, because most of this 38 million is being 125 over the 1475, or sorry, the 1675, because we're up at 1800. So the yin and the yang, as I referred to it. So it's very likely and this is just this week. This isn't pay week, right? But and so they may not roll. They don't really need to roll. But as they get closer to the payday, they will roll to have the cash. And if they need to buy this back, they may roll just to get the cash to buy it back, especially if we go up to 1820, 1850, 1900. This number balloons, but so does this. So they're going to roll it to get the cash to buy this back and right next week. Okay, hopefully that helps you guys see that they are positioned where they are relative to their synthetic to just keep on making money on any kind of rise. All right, so that's what I got for you for MSTY and Cony. Hope that helps, guys. Have a great one. Again, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. See ya. Bye.